Yes.
Okay, we'll call the Troy Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. McGarry.
Here.
Mr. Wolke.
Here.
Mrs. Ehrlich. Here. Mr. Westmeyer.
Here.
Mr. Emmerich.
Here.
Mayor. Here. Titterington.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay, the minutes from the July 8th meeting have been sent out. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions to be made?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, they are approved. Okay, the only item of business we have on the agenda is the Unified Development Code review. We'll first go through a summary update with the staff. Then we'll open it up to public comments, and then Planning Commission discussion would follow after that. Is this, Austin, are you going to be handling this? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll turn it over to you, sir.
So some of this may be a little bit repetitive, but given that it is the public comment meeting, we felt we needed to do a recap on really how we got here. So the agenda for tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the comp plan that was adopted in October of 2024, give an overview of the project as a whole, and then talk about the structure and content, some high-level highlights of each chapter, and then we're going to get into the hot topics as they relate to some specific uses right at the end, okay? So on the comprehensive plan, just to recap, this is really our policy document for the future of Troy for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We adopted this in October of 2024, and what we heard through this process was that, generally speaking, our community is okay with growth, but they want intentional growth, and they do not want to lose our small town feel. So that's how the close-knit factor came about, and I'm going to dive into this a little bit deeper when we talk about site standards. Another section is our future land use map. This shows all of our future growth areas and then breaks them down short, medium, and long, and then gives different classifications. And then parking reductions, we knew right away that we have a lot of seas of asphalt throughout our community. So we knew very quickly we needed to take a high look at our parking requirements in the UDC. Our implementation plan from the comp plan gave several critical path strategies. And I really want to highlight number 2 because this is what led to the UDC. And it states to refine zoning and building regulations and incentivize policies, density bonuses, and parking reduction requirements to encourage downtown micro unit creation. This has stemmed a lot of the modernization of the current UDC. And quick programming note, please stop me if you have any questions. I got a lot of material. I'm going to try to be brief, okay? The public engagement side of things, we had a really robust public engagement process, 680 plus community responses in our survey, 15 to 20 member stakeholder advisory committee, and various town halls and public engagement events. There's just a couple graphics of that. Now, getting into the UDC, which is why we're here. The goals of this project was to consolidate all of our documents, all of our codes into one document. This includes the zoning code, subdivision regs, sign code, and fence code, all in a unified format. We also wanted to take a closer look at our existing regulations and ensure compliance with state and federal law. And then we put a big emphasis throughout the code on the user-friendliness of the code. So that includes charts and graphics. And I'll highlight some of those themes as we go out. So phase 1 of the process was the educate phase. This is where we did a lot of analysis on where we were at the time we started it. This included a legal review, land use adjustment table, zoning districts evaluation, and then this is when we did primarily our stakeholder engagement. Phase 2, we were past Phase 2, but this is drafting. This is where we made all of our edits based on our stakeholder feedback. And then we are at Phase 3, which is, our public comment, and then we will have a public hearing at the council level. The UDC is laid out in 12 chapters, introduction provisions all the way down to rules of interpretation and definitions. I'm going to give a brief overview of five or six of these chapters, and then each chapter is formatted in a purpose statement consistently throughout. Chapter 1 is a little bit more beefier than other chapters because this is where we're repealing the sign code and subdivision regs, and then we would then be adopting it all in this unified code. So getting into the usability of the code, this is our first example of where you see the charts. You'll see the name of the districts and then the abbreviations following. And then what we did was we took the character classifications of the comprehensive plan, took our previous zoning classification, basically compared the two, and then created these new classifications. This also included a reduction or merging of some of our districts. For example, we went from 7 residential districts down to 4. Because they were so closely related, this is why we thought we could consolidate this, and it also allows some density bonuses as well. Same thing for non-residential zoning districts. We took the office commercial and the B1 district, merged those into the neighborhood commercial district. Regional commercial, we kept the B2 and the B4 separated, and then we did get rid of the planned office industrial district, and then just left it as light industrial. And the reason for that is we've not had any planned industrial districts throughout the existence of that zoning district. So we thought it made sense to just remove it. So part of this process was looking at every single use type that we've allowed in the city, and we had over 490, I believe 8 use types. We consolidated that to less than half. And then what we did was we made sure we had a definition for each one of these consolidated use types. So it's a lot more user-friendly in terms of the definition and how the code's viewed. The use tables, which is here, you'll see a P, which means permitted, and then you'll see a US for use standards. The use standards means that there's an additional standards for that particular type of use in the particular district it's referenced in. Okay? It's just more examples. So we've done this for both residential and non-residential use types. So you can quickly look up the district. Say I want to open up a farm, for example. Quickly see it's permitted in these districts, and then you will know is there additional standards or not. Same thing for dimensional characteristics. So these are our bulk regulations. These are all of our dimensional characteristics for every minimum parcel in the city, all in one table on 2 to 3 pages. We then took those tables and then provided graphics. The graphics are supposed to just provide another illustration on the setbacks and minimum dimensional characteristics. And that's what you'll see here. We did the same thing for accessory uses and accessory structures. When we have, the general public typically uses this the most. So we wanted to put a specific emphasis on the usability of this section, whether that's a fence, a shed, a deck. So what we did, unlike the other tables, we provided a hyperlink. When we go to the final editing version, you'll be able to click the specific use-specific standard, and it'll take you directly to that section and show you every standard as it relates to that category. So Chapter 5 gets into our site standards. This is where we talk about the close-knit factor, architectural standards, parking, landscaping, signs, lighting, and noise. So this is where really the tires hit the pavement with the details. So circling back to the close-knit factor, what we heard is, the close-knit community aspect. So what we wanted to do was make sure that our development moving forward kept a sense of place and community with our projects. So what you'll see on the left is the close-knit factor number, and then the required number of offsets that are required based on the various zoning districts. And this would be at the time of map amendment or a subdivision application. And those offset options include a variety of different things that are all weighted based on the different categories. We also wanted to make sure we were providing enough options that it would not handcuff the developer into one particular component, because we didn't want one requirement, one size doesn't fit all as it relates to these offsets. So we wanted to make sure we were providing enough offsets to provide for that community. Some of these include multi-purpose trails along the frontages of the project. In our comp plan, we have a complete streets map that shows all of our future priority in terms of connecting all of our subdivisions to downtown 75. So we wanted to make sure that we had an option to implement the comprehensive plan. And you'll see that with the 10-foot wide multi-purpose trail along the subdivision. We also wanted to look at our densities and provide incentives for higher densities to provide a variation of, or a variety of housing options to our community. And that's where you'll see the alley-loaded housing as one of the options. Getting into parking, I want to note that we provided a 25% reduction overall for all of our commercial and industrial developments from our existing code. So we took a wholesale 25% reduction. And the reason for that is it was very outdated. And we had a lot of parking lots, a lot of space that could have been utilized for other use types.
Austin, real quick on the parking, what does that mean for existing locations that may have excess parking? I mean, do they have an option to adjust that at all, or what's that mean?
Yeah, they would always have an option to adjust it. Chances are the previous code required a lot more than what we're going to require now.
Mm-hmm.
So we would not run into a non-conforming issue in terms of number of stalls.
Yeah, I guess my thought process is, does that give an opportunity for existing business to unload parking spot for something else?
Yeah, so for example, like the Meyer parking lot, split off to all the outlots, and Chick-fil-A, things like that, Starbucks. Yep. We also provided a stacking space requirements, which is the number of spaces a vehicle parks around a drive-through. We did not have any requirements previously, and now we do. So this allows like a safe egress route. So for example, if you're stuck in a drive-through and there's a fire, we now have an exit strategy for the stacking spaces. Another visualization of trying to make it user-friendly is we wanted to show, okay, we require a 10 to 15 foot setback from the parking lot to the public right-of-way. We wanted to show how that looks. So we provided these various graphics. And then getting into signage, the sign section is structured in a lot of different categories, but linking it back to the table, you can go to one location, see every type of sign and where it's permitted. And then we also made an emphasis on explaining how our signs are going to be calculated. We've had some confusion in our existing code about how things are calculated, and it resulted in a lot of staff time explaining We wanted to reduce that by showing these visualizations. And one tweak that I want to point out since our last meeting is note 1. It's going to be hard to see, but what we found is that some of our accessory uses, when you compare them to the multi-tenant development maximal sign area, was kind of hurting the accessory uses sign allowance. So we added not necessarily an exemption, but additional provisions that if a principal building is 10,000 square feet or larger, they would be permitted to have 50% of the freestanding sign. And then if there's any other state or federal law that requires additional signage, they would be permitted 25% additional than the monument sign allowance in the table. Lighting, we took our previous lighting standards, modernized them. I'm not even sure if LED was really a component when our current code was drafted, but our existing code. The new code took LED into consideration, put it in a table, and then showed visual illustrations. Noise, same thing. We took a holistic look at our noise and updated some dBAs or decibels, and then provided charts for ease of use. Permits and procedures, same thing. We took all of our permits and procedural processes, put that in one table. You can quickly look up your permit, see the process, timing, who is the ultimate authority for the decision making, and then the additional standards will be hyperlinked on the right-hand side that you can click on and see. So before I get into the use types, anybody have any questions on kind of the format and structure up to this point? All right. So getting into the data centers, wanted to highlight this. I know it was a hot topic, so we wanted to focus on, we're now requiring them to be a planned development. Okay, so that means that if a data center application comes to us, we would also require a planned development application. So I wanted to highlight that PD process. It starts off with a 4 to 6 month process because it's a rezoning or map amendment. And that first step is that preliminary plan submittal, and then also that rezoning. It'll go through an administrative staff review, and then ultimately that would get transmitted to the Planning Commission, and then the Planning Commission may hold a public hearing. Then it goes to City Council, and then City Council is then required to have a public hearing. And I'm going to anticipate that likely the Planning Commission would probably want to hold a public hearing on these uses. So there'll be 2 separate public hearings, and that's just with step 1. And then there's 2 additional steps with the PD. But I wanted to focus on that initial timing and public input process.
Now, Austin, it's not a separate process for the PD for data centers versus, say, for residential or church or a school or anything like that.
It's the same process. Yep.
Okay.
There is additional use standards in addition to the PD. So it sets like minimum baselines.
Right.
And I can get into that on this slide.
There's no shortcutting or any deviation from the standard PD process.
No, in fact, it's a lot more stringent.
Okay.
So some of those standards include minimum setbacks of 100 feet from any property line, landscaping and screening pretty consistently throughout, 25-foot buffer plantings, and then we're also requiring a noise and vibration mitigation plan before, during, and post-construction to ensure compliance with our code. Any questions on
And then what, can you reiterate the last 4 points, or number 7, that with the Planning Commission, as far as
Is it cut off?
basically future standards?
So that allows the Planning Commission to add additional standards based on the specific submittal. So that's what 7's intended
So once the
for.
submittal comes to the Planning Commission, there's a discussion, we can add any additional standards that we need to have.
Correct. tattoo parlors, we've heard feedback from the public that they no longer wish that this use be prohibited. So what we did was we are allowing them in the GC district, which is our previous like B2, it's our general commercial district, as an accessory use to a barber and beauty shop. And the reason we chose barber and beauty shops is you're going to the, like body art, similar process as a body art with the micropigmentation. If anyone's not familiar with that, it's where like if you're a cancer patient, you could get pigments installed in your hair to make it look like hair, for example. And we have a couple of those that are currently in operation, and it just works. So we determined that, or we're recommending that it get moved as an accessory use to those barber and beauty shops. It does still exempt them from downtown or in the downtown riverfront overlay. So that's where you see it says except the DRO. That's the reason is for downtown. And it still requires Ohio Department of Health and Miami County Health District licensure and permit requirements. Any questions on that? No? Okay. So automobile fuel dispensing stations. You've seen this map before, but it shows our 20 existing gas stations, and it shows the vacant land that we have in the B2 district. Want to highlight again that we only have 14 vacant parcels, 23 acres, which totals 23 acres, and then 2 parcels equal 12 of that 23. And those 23 acres, or I'm sorry, 12 acres, is this parcel up here and this parcel down here. So half, almost, or more than half of our vacant B2 land is 2 parcels. I also wanted to give additional context for the reasoning of this. So we did some drive time analysis on gas stations, and what we found is that essentially almost all parts of Troy in the city limits can get to a gas station in a 0 to 3 minute drive. You can see that in the kind of purple. It might be hard to see or delineate the purple on the map, but this is 0 to 3 minute drive time to a gas station in Troy. 0 to 5 minutes, obviously it gets much bigger. And then 0 to 10 minutes, you can almost go to every adjacent community to a gas station in Troy. So wanted to provide that additional context. We also wanted to look at the number of fuel pumps that are currently being offered, the square foot of the principal buildings, square feet of the canopies, and then look at those averages. So the average principal building is 3,500 square feet. The average canopy is about 3,000 square feet. So just additional context, what led to the moratorium and these changes. So our standards have tweaked from the 50,000 square feet requirement down to 10,000 square feet. The floor area shall be devoted to 51% of a grocery or restaurant use. And then we got rid of the fuel pump limits. After talking this through, the number of fuel pumps didn't make sense for that large of a building. So instead of putting a cap on the number of fuel pumps, we're recommending that the canopies get removed or moved to the rear yard. Now there is an exception that was added that the Planning Commission can allow an alternative to that rear yard canopy installation if there's a traffic or safe maneuverability of the site issue. And that should be evidenced via turn templates, traffic impact study by a traffic engineer. And then there is a dimensional setback between these use types of 2,000 feet. So I went through a lot of information. Anybody have any questions on this use type?
Now, how does this affect the existing stations? They're grandfathered in, correct?
There would be legal nonconformities.
And then, but if they remodel or you get a new permit, like you've seen a couple of them where they've torn then they'll have to comply with it.
Yeah, so if it's damaged more than 50% through the event of a fire or tornado, it would have to be brought up to standard, or if they voluntarily discontinued the use of more than 180 days, it would have to be brought up to the standard. Otherwise, it's allowed to operate as is. So with that, any questions?
Commission have any questions for the staff on that?
Just around the use standards, and so we got an email from Sue passed out as part of our packet where the definition of a kennel was brought up, and it seems like that our definition didn't match Miami County's definition. I didn't have a chance to look into that, but did you guys see that at all, or just that there's two conflicting definitions within the county? I didn't know if that...
Well, I think you have to take the additional context of that. The county definition includes a lot more rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that is our reasoning of having 3 instead of 6.
Okay.
Is the rural versus, city limits.
Okay.
I think, Mr. Chair, I know in addition to the kennel email, we did get, Sue, did we get, 4 or 5?
Total of 4.
Four
Total of
emails. And I think you were going to have us take those under advisement, Mr. Chair, and then discuss them at, our next meeting?
Well, I think a couple of them we only received yet in short notice as of today, I believe, from the,
I emailed them to the commission earlier.
right, but the Troy Historical Preservation Alliance,
just
that
got
didn't even come in until today, I don't believe.
Right.
So there's some of these that I'd like to propose we can discuss them briefly, but I think everybody needs to review them in context with where we're moving before we can address each one individually.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I haven't had really time to dive into them myself.
I think some have more significance than, at least to me, than some of the others, but I'd like to keep it in that context. Okay, is there anything additional from the staff then? I mean, you're complete with your part of the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Okay, is there any, and if there's no further questions from the staff, we can open this up for public comment. And as before, we'd like people to be brief and try not to be repetitive in your comments, but when you do come up, please state your name, your full name, and your address so that we can have that on the record. And try to limit it to no more than 3 or 4 minutes, just so we have a matter of getting out of here before too late in the evening. But we do want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak.
I have a question. Is David going to respond to questions, or is this we are just listening to comments at this point? We're just listening to comments, we're not responding right now?
Yeah, the purpose of the meeting is just to take the comments. Yep.
Okay.
Then, as far as, making sure, like, to respond to those, would this be provided, on the website? I mean, is this something that you could, if there's issues that are raised, do we want to present those, or we want to wait till the next meeting to review those?
We can do whatever the Planning Commission wishes. If you want us to compile all the comments from tonight and then put it together in a form and send it off and have it in the next packet, we can do that as well.
That would be probably most helpful. I mean, if we need clarification, I think you can get the clarification today.
Correct.
But I think that would be the most helpful way to handle it. Okay, I go ahead and open the session for public comment.
Hello all. I'm Madison Hickman, the 3rd Ward Councilman, and I just have a statement based on lots of comments I've received from my constituents as well as citizens from across the city. So I'd like to talk about some possible amendments to the UDC centered on protecting our limited industrial land and maintaining consistency in our retail standards. The first topic is on data centers. The UDC's new data center provisions address setbacks, noise studies, landscaping buffers. However, I don't believe these provisions go far enough. I propose we implement a long-term moratorium on data center development in Troy, and here's why. A typical data center employs 20 to 50 people per facility and consumes 10 acres of land at minimum. Manufacturing uses the same acreage to support sometimes 100 to 300 jobs, and logistics centers creates 50 to 200 jobs. Data centers deliver 3 to 6 times fewer jobs per acre than actual industrial uses. And beyond the numbers, there's a larger principle at stake. Data centers are simply not a good economic development strategy for Troy. As we've discussed, we have very limited industrial land in our current city limits. Before we commit precious industrial land to this issue, we need some more research and study into how they actually impact our utilities and our long-term land use. And a moratorium allows us to gather that information while protecting our assets. Troy has very little industrial space, and it is precious, and we should treat it as such. And we are not alone. Dayton has recently banned them. Xenia, Urbana, and Washington Township have enacted moratoriums, and over a dozen Ohio communities have taken action in recent months. There's also a statewide ballot initiative that is already collecting signatures, but our state and federal officials have decided to kick that back to the communities. So this is where we can take our stand. A moratorium on data centers doesn't make Troy look anti-business. It makes us look strategic, a city that knows what its land is worth and intends to use for actual sustainable economic growth. I propose language such as data center uses are subject to a long-term moratorium in Troy to allow for comprehensive study and research into their impacts from municipal utilities, land use, and economic development. The city prioritizes industrial land for manufacturing, logistics, and distribution, as well as warehousing and other employment generating usage that provide sustainable job growth and community economic development. As you all know, I also brought up the issue of tattoo parlors. I want to address that as well. I will acknowledge that we did just take a step forward from where our current zoning laws ban them outright. But tattooing is a legitimate profession. It's skilled work, it's high paying, and it's a real business. There's no reason that a tattoo studio should not be able to open and operate as an independent business in Troy the same way any other personal services can. I drive past tattoo shops on a regular basis, many within 15 minutes of our city, and they are beautiful professional spaces. The artists are skilled professionals running real businesses, and our constituents who work in the industry deserve the opportunity to invest here without arbitrary restrictions. I'd like to see that UDC language change to simply allow tattooing studios to operate as independent businesses. That's economic development done right, letting legitimate businesses operate without unnecessary barriers. And my final issue that I would like to address today is something that very many constituents across the city have reached out about, and I think it deserves thought. As many of you know, the major majority of Troy voted in favor of legalizing marijuana. My constituents are asking why, given that vote, we have language in this UDC that bans the marijuana dispensaries. They were right to question that inconsistency. The city made a democratic choice to legalize it. Banning retail space for it goes against what our residents decided. I'm not going to ask you to revisit the marijuana dispensary decision today. I know that is something that was decided by council last year, and I sat in on those meetings. But we do currently have 9 tobacco and vape stores that are standalone operating in Troy. 9. I counted them right before I came to this meeting. We have no language in the UDC addressing them or their dangers. If marijuana dispensaries don't belong in Troy, then why are we allowing dedicated retail spaces for tobacco and vape products? Products that carry documented health risks, particularly for our young people, because that is what was said to the marijuana dispensaries, is the health risk. I stand in the square regularly. I watch teenagers walk by with vapes, and it's horrid. I actually found one in my front yard yesterday that somebody stopped and pitched as they were driving by. And it was a young person that threw it out their window. And data is trending towards vaping having a greater health risk than marijuana. So if the principle behind restricting marijuana dispensaries is protecting our community and our young people from products we're concerned about, then that is the same principle that should be applied to tobacco and vape shops. We can't claim to be making decisions based on public health and then allow 9 dedicated retail spaces for products that we acknowledge are dangerous, especially to the youth. I'm not proposing that we ban these shops, but I am proposing we apply the same standard. If we're going to restrict one category of retail based on health concerns, we need to honestly address others. Either we treat all 3 the same, or we acknowledge that our approach isn't really about the products, it's about something else entirely, and my constituents deserve clarity and consistency. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have to go get my kids at 4:15, so I gotta hurry. My name's Katie Kaler Wagner. I'm at 2955 Hickory Wood Drive in Troy. I was here last time and brought up the whole data centers being reviewed, at the administrative staff review and getting it changed to conditional use. Can we go back in these slides? Back to the first data center slide. That last rectangle on the bottom there. Administrative staff review. Can we get that changed to conditional use to make sure we have a public hearing? Because then the next rectangle up there, Planning Commission may. That word, may, is a huge problem. It needs to be required. May seems to be a little wishy-washy, in my opinion. I don't know if it's just me, but they may have a public hearing. It's not required, so I think this is something that is a huge concern to me. All of this needs to be in writing. We have learned from what is happening in Piqua, and we don't want this here. You guys, your positions may change, but these words don't, and they need to change. So, I brought it up once before. Is there one more review before this is approved, or no?
Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask Katie for clarification. If you go, the right column at the bottom, City Council is required to hold a public hearing, so there is a required public hearing.
Yeah, but let's have it there too. Let's have it everywhere, right? Like,
Yeah, I guess my point is, that's why I was asking you for clarification. So you're recommending that we have 2 required public hearings, not 1.
All the public hearings,
One at the
yeah.
Planning Commission and 1 at the council.
Yes, yeah.
Because that's different than how we do rezonings at the planning versus the council. The council always has to do a required one, but you're saying for data centers, your recommendation is we have the 2, 1 at planning and 1 at...
Yeah, and I don't think it needs to be administrative staff review as we talked about before. It needs to be more of a conditional use. I get that there's hearings.
I think you're mixing that up. I think, and staff can correct us, but the administrative staff review is the compliance report. Yep. And bringing up any of the issues to the Planning Commission, and then right now it would be an optional hearing, but then a recommendation to council. So the administrative staff review is not the PD. We don't do conditional use. We do the plan development. Same thing.
Okay.
So I mean, this is a plan development. The administrative staff review is just to make sure that the application is in compliance to then make a report to the Planning Commission. That's all that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then was there anything, I forgot to review it again, about annexing more land into Troy when it came to data centers? Was there anything in...
Not related to
No, that's separate from the UDC.
Okay, just checking to make sure. And then before I go, I want to make sure that these public hearings are something that, I've been to all the ones in Piqua, and it just seems like it's falling on deaf ears. So I appreciate all the public hearings and even extra public hearings if we need it. If we can change that one to May to require, that would be great. And I just want to go on record right now and just say, I've said my concerns in Piqua before with Paul Oberdorfer, now here at the Chamber of Commerce. I was at the PUCO meeting last week with the AES rate hikes, and then the week prior to that, the one organization that stood up in support of the AES rate hikes was the Chamber of Commerce. I'm seriously concerned that he is on the Development Council here in Troy. I don't know how this happened. I have a lot of questions because he brought in the battery burning in the data center. So I'm going on record just to bring this up. I love the Chamber of Commerce. I love Kathy. I love Shelby. I have a lot of concerns. And now we're talking about data centers, and now he's in the position that he is. So just on record, I have to go get my kids, but thank you so much. Bye.
Susan Westfall, 305 Water Street, council member at large. I have concerns about the data centers also. I think we need to learn a lot more. I'm for making as many public hearings as possible. Regarding Madison's smoke and vape shops, I have no problem with them being standalone. I see a big difference between marijuana and cigarettes and vaping. You know, you can smoke a cigarette and not get pulled over for being under the influence. And I feel like they can be a separate shop, and I have no problem with that. I also have no problem with tattoo businesses. I think we need to get past the word parlor. That seems so antiquated. But they are legitimate businesses. They are highly regulated, and I think we should move into the modern generation and realize that probably 40% of the population has a tattoo somewhere, and that they're not naked ladies and anchors anymore. They're artwork, and they're professional, and we should be looking at allowing them. I also have a problem with being business friendly. I appreciate that the graphs and the charts make it so much easier, but as somebody who has come to this commission or this board saying, okay, do you want this color or this color? Here's what I've picked. I picked a historic building, and I've got a gray picked out from, say, Sherwin-Williams historic colors, and then we have to get your opinion. That makes no sense to me. I feel like staff could make those decisions. I feel like we have to streamline business-friendly procedures. I feel like we have to streamline being able to update your property without having to go before the board for your opinion. Thank you.
My name's Dana Schilling. I'm at 1 West Franklin Street, apartment 309, Troy, Ohio. Everybody's talked about the data centers. I totally agree. I've spent my time doing petitioning around the area, and it's amazing. I brought the Republicans, Democrats, and Independents in there to sign that thing, and I'm telling you, I got around 400 and some while I was doing it. 2 people said they wouldn't sign it, but they didn't really understand it. So there's a lot of people do not want a data center now. And if you're going to entertain that, it's going to take more than 2 meetings. It's really a convoluted bunch of problems. So you're going to have to, once you think about doing it, you're going to have to start meetings then before you even start planning, so people can let you know whether they want it here or not. Also, I am for the marijuana business. I was a nurse and a paramedic, and I know I worked with Alzheimer's people, and there's many other problems that people have that marijuana helps to take care of their issue so they're not having to take really illegal drugs like the heavy barbiturates and the psychedelic or psych drugs and all that stuff. They could just have a piece of candy with marijuana in it, and it just calms them, and they're not sitting there all worried about why they're not thinking right. It also works with people with Parkinson's and the shaking. Many good things that marijuana can do. I don't think you have to worry about dopers sitting around on your sidewalk. It's time for Troy to get with the modernization of the world. Pot is a thing now. We've got bars on every street in town. I mean, they're everywhere, and you can walk around and drink. And it's like, you don't worry about that. You don't have too many pot drivers that end up having wrecks. It's usually alcoholics. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about is housing. And I've been here before about housing. You're ruling out trailers and prefab homes and all of that sort of thing. What kind of housing are you going to propose in Troy so people that are of moderate income can afford to buy a house here? That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Bradley Beringer, 105 Crestwood Drive. Can't say too much of what's been said, but I will add this. The excuse that's been given about data centers, oh, we don't have enough land. Data center builders don't care about that. They annex. I'm going to reiterate something I said the last time public comment was offered on this. We need to ban them outright. And Mr. Tittering said, oh, we can't do that. But if you go to one of your charts on the use charts for a minute, any one of them. Look at how many prohibited uses you have. Look at that. There's a lot of things that are prohibited uses in all the zoning codes. Why can't data centers be one of them? The best way to go about this is to stop the rot before it starts, or else we're going to be going down the road of decreased water usage, because it's going to suck up our aquifer. You know it is. And increased power usage. Do you guys want to be on the hook for that? I sure don't. Now, I want to go on to the gas station business thing for a minute. What gas station is going to want to come to Troy if they have to find a restaurant or anything like that to hook up with them? We are shutting out gas stations. For what reason? Because we have too many of them? I don't think we can have enough. Let's be real. The small town feel that we talk about was lost 20 years ago. We're not a small town of 10,000 people anymore. And like Dana said, we need to modernize with the times. Get with the times, or we're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Aaron Weaver, 45 Fox Harbor Drive here in Troy. Thanks for taking the time this afternoon to listen to us. I have a few things to say, and it's really just I'd like to agree with Madison. With everything she said, just to reiterate. The nice thing we'd do is when we're creating a plan, is to use actual data. Right? And you guys hit on some of those. I thought it was great. Yeah, 3 minutes from anywhere in town, I can get to a gas station. Awesome. 10 minutes to closest city. You guys are using stats. But when it comes to some of these decisions, what stats are we making those on, right? So I'll go back to the cannabis operations in Troy. If the city wants to ban them or not have them in the code for the next 20, 25, however long this period covers, the people in the city will take it a lot better since the majority voted for those operations. If you could say, we can't do that because in cities our size, X amount of children are being poisoned. X amount of children are going to the hospital. We're filling jail cells with cannabis users. If anyone can say that right now, I'll go get Chief McKinney out of the hallway because he can't even say it. We're not doing that with cannabis users around here. It's not the same type of person or people that use those products. Stuff gets into children's hands, and that's very unfortunate. It happens with guns, happens with opioids. They catch kids at all of our schools in town with vapes. None of them are old enough to have vapes, right? So they get their hands on things because they're children, and we should do better at policing the parents for that. This isn't a one person has an accident, everyone wears a diaper situation, okay? There are irresponsible people out there that will do irresponsible things. But if you all as a planning commission say, hey, citizens of Troy, we know what you want, but we can't do it because of this data right here, perfect. You're taking our arguments away. Until then, you're either willfully ignorant or willfully negligent by not allowing people to have access to cannabis within the city of Troy. Yes, we can home grow. Many of us do. But there are people who don't have that luxury. There are people that don't have the luxury of driving to Piqua. And I know that isn't far. I think there's 2 in Piqua. I've never been to either one of them. I wouldn't go to one in Troy if it was here. My point being is people cannot get around to those other locations as easily. So by providing it here in some arbitrary corner of the city of Troy where you could tuck one away where no one will ever see it, you would satisfy so many people and alleviate any argument, unless you can say, the city, we're telling you, the kids are killing themselves with cannabis. People are overdosing on cannabis. But right now, I'm talking to you as a guy who served 20 years in the Army. Cannabis helps me wake up every day, as opposed to the pile of opioids that I get from the base. Okay? So, I just want you to know that it's not just a bunch of stoners, potheads, losers. We have a nurse supporting our decision. There are plenty of other medical people out there as well. I would just like you guys to be able to present us with data, not feelings. How about that? Same thing when it comes to a roundabout. Let's use data as opposed to sending out the email, what do you all think? And then 300 people pile on top of each other on Facebook, and everyone's a road engineer, right? No, let's use data. How's it going to help? How's it going to hurt? Same thing with parlor shops. How's a standalone parlor shop going to hurt? What do they do in other cities our size? Can we just use data and present that to the city? I'm sorry, I don't get a microphone often. Just use the data, please, to present that. It would be easier for us that do vote for these things to say yes. All right, we understand. And as far as voters go, there's a lot of money to have, or votes go. There's a lot of money to be had in tax revenue from cannabis. I don't know what it is. Piqua made a lot. That's because a lot of people from Troy are driving to Piqua to buy cannabis. That's a piece of our money. You all need to invest for me, right? Because, I want to pay less taxes. I don't want to pay for the next levy. I don't want to pay for the next this or that. My wife and I are yes voters. All levies, everything. We love the city, support the schools. But if you want to start preventing businesses here that generate income based on zero data presented to anyone other than we don't like it because Nancy Reagan says it makes you jump out of windows or something silly. You don't have to like it. I don't like alcohol, but I can walk out front and high-five the guy drinking on the corner because he's allowed to be there doing it. It is what it is. So, tight-knit community, we all voted for something. If the facts and data don't support it, tell us no. Otherwise, please reconsider. And that's all I ask. That completes my statement. Thanks. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Simpson. I'm an attorney with Finney Law Firm. My address is 635 Main Street, Cincinnati, Ohio. I represent Troy Station LLC and its owner, Mandeep Singh, and I know that many of you have heard from me many times at city council meetings and at city council committee meetings, and I also know some of the planning commission has also heard about some of our presentations and discussions regarding the moratorium. I'm here today because I support the changes that have been made. My client supports the changes that have been made to the UDC and that have been discussed tonight by the administration with respect to the gas stations, going from the 50,000 square feet down to the 10,000 square feet with a primary use, 51%, being either a restaurant or a grocery. And my client is very much interested in moving forward with that concept of restaurant, 51%, and a restaurant and a gas station and a 10,000 square foot building. We do have some particular questions having to do with traffic studies and things like that, and we'll talk to the administration about that. But in concept, we support it. We appreciate the administration getting our thoughts and input on it, and we appreciate the changes that they've made. My client would like to move forward as soon as possible with this, especially because of problems having what to do with construction during the wintertime and some of the things that we've discussed in the other meetings. And my client wants to make a well over $3 million investment in the city. Once there'll be construction jobs, he's already hired 2 local contractors to help with this, and there'll be local contractors hired during the construction as well. Once it is open, there'll be at least 15 full-time jobs to start off. And so he just is excited to get started, and just encourage you, please, to allow him to move forward as soon as possible. Thank you.
Jim Cowser, 504 East Main Street. Are the data centers going to be powered up on their own? Or are we using our power for them? And is the water going to be contaminated
Do you want me to?
after they're done?
Well, I think what the staff has recommended to us is that since they'd be presented as planned developments, all of those questions would have to be answered before they came to the Planning Commission to review. And so your questions are excellent, and they're the exact questions that are conditions that would be put into an application process if a data center would want to apply for a use. So it's not automatic, and that really would be a question that I'm assuming staff that we would ask the applicant, and they would have to supply to us before we could make any kind of recommendation to the council. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I think that's what the administrative review was that was being pointed out earlier, would be we would gather the information should we ever receive any application for that, and then that information would be sorted out, vetted through to make sure it meets the criteria that's laid out in the UDC, and then presented to the Planning Commission, and then ultimately City Council for a vote.
They should be forced to power themselves up, and then whatever they got left, sell it back to us.
I'm waiting for the pizzas to be delivered.
And prove that their water is good after they use it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Steve Hendrickson at 975 Dickerson. I just want to echo what other people said. I don't want a blankety-blank data station. No reason to have one. No. Yes, you can have all the public meetings you want to have to go through an approval process. Everybody will show up with their torches burning and their pitchforks ready to burn the place down. But the truth is the public doesn't want a data center. We've all read the newspapers. Everybody's against them. Can they articulate the reason why? Not necessarily. But why open the door to let them in when you can ban them? Just ban it. You can always open the door later, but having it open now and say, oh, it's okay, because they have to go through a bunch of steps. People are building these data centers have got more money than Troy and Montgomery County put together. You think you're going to kind of fight off some of these huge, gigantic corporations, all their lawyers? Are you kidding me? Once you start it, you're going to say, oh, okay, well, we've got a process. Don't worry about it. Worry my butt. It's going to be a problem. And you're going to be sitting, arguing in court And they're gonna have a bunch of lawyers standing up here. You got one lawyer talking about gas stations. Do you know how many lawyers Amazon's gonna bring here to build a data center? You can avoid all that by just banning it. Ban it now and forget about it. Don't try to say, oh, well, we're going to be open-minded and let the procedures protect us. I don't believe it. I know you all want to believe it. I want to believe it too. I'm too old and too cynical and have seen how much money buys. It's a bunch of old cliches about what money does and what walks, okay? And there's going to be an awful lot of people with too much money in data centers for you and this committee, this county, to say no to it. So keep that in mind and listen to the public, okay? Thank you.
Hi, Julie Carter, 17 East Water Street. So thank you all for taking the time today to hear our comments. There are just a few things that I wanted to bring up that kind of were concerns for myself. So I live and work in the downtown area. I live, like I mentioned, on Water Street, first block. I work at Howard Hanna. Some of the things that are causing some hesitations for me, or things that I'd like to bring up, or things that I've encountered myself, or that I've seen some of my clients encounter. So one of them is for my primary residents, or those that own detached single-family homes in the B3 urban core downtown mixed-use area. It says it's mixed use, but really there's no verbiage in there that includes a category for residential properties, single-family homes. I know that we're working toward, or the city is working toward developing the B3 area into, the conforming uses and things like that. But I have concerns as a single, family owner, that if my house were to burn down, or the 50%, it says here, destruction exceeding 50% of the current replacement value of the entire building, that they would not be able to be restored. So that's a concern for me. I live in an old wood house. I mean, I have more than one structure on my property, so I have a garage, I have a shed, a lot of things that I would have to leave behind if something were to happen. So I know I've mentioned it before, but just this is the time to say it again. So that's one of them. Another thing that keeps coming to mind for me is I have property on South Walnut Street on the market currently, and one of the issues that I keep running into with potential buyers for it is that it has an apartment in the detached accessory building. And if they were to convert the first floor of that, of the main structure, over to the B3 commercial, which is what the goal would be, then they would no longer be able to use that carriage house apartment to rent out, or even for their own personal use, because it doesn't allow you to live on the second floor of an accessory building. It's always been an apartment, but buyers that are looking at that size of property, it's almost 9,000 square foot, that are interested in developing it for a commercial purpose, have to take into consideration that they're giving up the use of the apartment, which could also be income generating. And I know a lot of the B3 goals would be, or for non-conforming properties in the B3 district, would be, to kind of condense the amount of people that are able to live there, utilize the space, and really contribute to the downtown pedestrian use and utilization of what it has to offer. So I do wish that there, were the possibility if somebody could use the second floor of an accessory building for, to live in, to rent out. There's a lot of really cool Airbnbs in some of these older properties. It would make a perfect one for that, but unfortunately they're not able to utilize that as an income opportunity. Along those lines there, the discontinuance is something that I've also run into with the South Walnut Street property, is that if a non-conforming property is voluntarily discontinued or remains vacant for 180 calendar days, that the nonconforming use will not be reestablished. I'm thankful that we were able to get a residential occupancy permit for that property. That was a blessing, but quite honestly, that was an estate that we're working on. It was a tremendous lift for my client that I'm working with to get the property liquidated as far as his mom's assets. And then to have that 6-month constraint ticking the whole time that he's trying to liquidate antiques and things like that, working against the use of the property. I just feel like there are some extenuating circumstances that would require more than 180 days for it to no longer be grandfathered into use. So I wanted to make note of that. And then lastly, regarding permits and procedures, and there's an area here that I had pulled. Determining the significance of a structure, it just says that the Planning Commission is in charge of determining if a property is of historical significance. And currently on the Planning Commission, not anyone that specializes in architecture or design, history, things like that. So just kind of putting out there maybe a collaboration with the Historical Society to kind of have an input on this historic significance of properties that are located in the Historic Overlay District. So that's all I have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Deb Hogshead, 421 South Plum Street in Troy. I'm one of the people who sent in an email this morning. I do want to say that I appreciate the work of the Planning Commission. There is certainly a lot of detail in the Unified Development Code, and I'm not someone with community background or community planning background, so there's likely that things I've missed. Today's presentation has been helpful. But I got to make one thing very, very clear. I agree with Brad. I agree with you. We should have a total ban on data centers. Barring that, I agree with Madison that we need a moratorium. Very much for the same reasons that she gave. We've had a moratorium on gas stations for similar purposes, so why not a moratorium on data centers? I had also written previously about what I would like to see changed in the UDC, and I was glad to see changes under Chapter 1103, Section M. I was glad to see the noise and vibration and energy use standards having been added. It was interesting, though, there is an expectation under energy use for data centers to use renewable energy as much as possible, including on-site generation, yet the UDC bans commercial renewable energy systems. And that was in Section 1102-01, base zoning district, I think paragraph D. And also, and I think somebody has also mentioned the issue about water. Item 6 under the data centers talks about water quantity, but we do also need to be concerned about water quality and how our water will be protected. I'm going to try not to be redundant. Forgive me if I am with what other people have said. If we're not going to ban data centers, we do need paragraphs, specific paragraphs on accountability. What will happen when a data center fails to meet standards? Who will be responsible and financially liable during construction, operation, and decommissioning for remediating damages related to the environment, public health and quality of life, and any loss of property value of those residents living in homes already existing in the areas in which a data center might be built? You've heard about how other people in other communities, how they're responding to data centers. Here's another statistic. A March 2026 Gallup poll found that 71% of Americans oppose artificial intelligent data centers in their communities. Decisions about data centers should be in the hands of the 11 million residents of Ohio, not a handful of big tech billionaires who want to build here and profit from the extraction of our limited resources. And they're able to do that because of the money they spend to help elect candidates who favor their positions and to lobby in Congress. And I agree with Katie, who said earlier, we should be requiring public hearings. May is a equivocal word. Shall is a word that says you will do it, not maybe, but you will. We recently celebrated the nation's 250th birthday. The Declaration of Independence reminds us that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. The people are not consenting to more data centers. Listen to the people. And I also have to add, and I said this in op-eds before, that the situation that we're facing with the proliferation of data centers shows us exactly why we need to have an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that makes clear that money is not speech and a corporation is not a person with inherent and inalienable constitutional rights, because, as he mentioned, we may be up against big-time Amazon, Meta, Alphabet lawyers if we don't do what they want us to do, and they have more money to pay for it. So I thank you for letting me speak and letting all of us speak. And again, I support a ban, a total ban. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman McNary and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Paul Oberdorfer. I'm with the Troy Development Council, and I'm here today on behalf of the TDC and the Chamber as well. I have a stack of responses I would like to submit. So on behalf of the Troy Development Council and the Troy Area Chamber of Commerce, thank you for the work you do. City staff and the consultant team have invested in the Unified Development Code. We appreciate the revisions already made and your willingness to listen to the businesses and the development community as well. Our comments today are simple. We support the UDC and believe it can be even stronger by focusing on 4 principles: predictability, speed, flexibility, and objective standards. Businesses and developers need a clear, efficient, and consistent process to reduce risk and drive development. Expanding administrative approvals for compliant projects, reducing unnecessary delays, and providing greater flexibility for redevelopment, parking, and temporary signage will help Troy compete for new investment while maintaining a high standard our community expects. We're not asking you to lower standards, we're asking you to adopt a code that fully supports the comprehensive plan's vision by making Troy a community where quality development can happen with confidence. Thank you for your leadership and thoughtful consideration with our submitted questions. Thank you.
Thank you for submitting these.
Good afternoon. I'm Richard Grant, 549 Summit Avenue here in Troy. I just have a question I'd like to ask, maybe 2. Has any individual, LLC, or corporation approached anybody here with respect to the possibility of putting a data center here in Troy? I see a no there. No there. How about you, Mr. McGarry?
It's not come before Planning Commission.
Anybody here?
I don't think...
Nothing?
We have not.
Staff hasn't?
We've not
No?
received anything. No.
Okay. Is anybody on this panel or committee thinking about a data center for Troy?
How can you not think about it?
I mean, the possibility of putting one here? I don't see any yeses there, so I'm going to take that as a no. So, Well, the planning commission reacts to applications that come in. I mean, this is not we don't have a whiteboard and we just
Yeah.
draw up ideas. That's not how it works. So-
I think the one thing I'd like to, I'm glad Mr. Oberdorfer is here today because there's been a lot of conversation about him coming from Piqua with a trail of a bunch of stuff that I'm not going to get into because for me that's a bunch of rhetoric. Some of it is classical BS. Maybe some of it isn't, but my concern is, and I'm going to personally talk to him as well, as to whether, his function, from my understanding, is to bring business to Troy. That's kind of what I think he's going to be all about. So I wonder if that includes talking to an LLC or an individual or a group of attorneys or a corporation with respect to a data center, because I think what has to be real clear here, what took place in Piqua can happen anywhere. And it's become very, very clear that the majority of people don't want those centers here. Most people don't even know what a data center is about. And the fact is that it's a lot more than what you would think it is. It has a lot to do with our privacy, our right to, certain things. Basically, they're information gathering processes is what they are. They have a lot to do with artificial intelligence and the use of our cell phones and a whole lot of other stuff. But as I stated to some of you on Monday, this is a really fine community. This county is awesome. And I've lived in a lot of places in the U.S. as well as abroad. And I will tell you that you talk to most anybody and ask them about a data center, a lot of them will say, geez, I don't know anything about it, but a lot of people don't like them. Now, that happens to include me. There are some good things about it, but the direction that technology is going right now has the ability to really, really hurt us. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to think very clearly in your mind that look who's behind all the data centers. Why did Mark Zuckerberg build this massive mansion on the island of Oahu and then build a huge bunker system underground? Musk doing the same thing. Bezos, all those guys, all these people have so much money, they can do whatever they want. The only people that can stop them, right here and right there. We're the only ones that can prevent that. And all I would ask you to do, again, with your minds and your hearts, really look at what some of these people here are saying. I don't think anybody, myself included, would come in here and blow my breath on you and go, hey, listen to me, I'm Rich Grant, I know, no. I know this, I love this community, and I want the right thing for the highest good of all. And reminding you that you are all serving us. And I thank you for that personally. I think it's awesome that you do that. So please keep that in mind, okay? Yes? Good. Thanks all for your time. Appreciate you.
Hang on one sec, guys. We have a technical difficulty on our live stream. We're trying to get with IT, so hang tight.
Probably all my home.
It's not data related, it's internet.
Zuckerberg should about that. I'm turning off my satellite screen.
We should have we're still streaming.
It does?
Yeah, online shows we're still going.
Okay. All right.
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
I heard Paul Oberdorfer, I'd love to sit and meet with you, that'd be great. I think it's even better if you had a town hall.
Me too.
Ask and answer a lot of questions. Two words I heard from him, speed and efficiency. I just want to add, if we can if we can't ban data centers altogether, can we make sure whoever comes in that there's no NDAs being signed? And can we also guarantee that it's not being pushed through with an emergency vote that then forgoes all the public hearings, which is what happened in Piqua? I'm just going to throw that out there because they said it was for community peace. I just want accountability and transparency. If we can throw that in there. If it's not in writing, I don't think people follow it, so just so it's in black and white, please.
Well, just so, our legal advisors here, we can't enter into any non-disclosure agreement with anyone. And I don't believe council can either.
Right.
That's
a public records issue, right? Yeah.
Is it in writing?
Well, that's state law.
State law.
It happened in Piqua, though.
No, the city did not sign NDAs. That was done through the Improvement Corporation, which is a separate entity from the city. So, I mean, I don't want to get into a debate on that. All I can do is speak, because we have spoken to Grant. It's not legal for us to sign an NDA. Never done it. It's all subject to public records. It's not an exemption under the state law. So, you know, we can't do that.
And that's with any development.
Right, correct.
Or any other contracts or any other.
Okay.
There are some state law provisions that we learned about recently that require us to keep certain information confidential, otherwise it can be criminal. It's not the same thing as an NDA, and that's just a quirk in the state law.
As long as everything's is out in the open, accountability, transparency. We don't even know the company that's coming into Piqua because it's hidden behind a J5 LLC. So it just, again, going on record, I'm concerned. There's a lot of concerns. So.
Hello, Bill Whitten, 1770.
Can you just hold on a second? Are we prepared to move forward? We're good? Okay, go ahead, sir.
All right, starting over. Bill Whitten, 1778, State Route 718, Troy, Ohio. Thank you for your time today. I applaud you for your attentiveness. I sat through the Piqua City Commission meeting, and they sit up there like a bunch of mushrooms. It's ridiculous. Coming back to your UDC, can we put in there somewhere that there needs to be environmental studies done on this, just not part of the plan? Spell it out specifically. There should be an environmental study done on what's going to happen with our data centers, as well as no emergency meetings to decide these things, because the Planning Commission has done these in the past to approve certain things. So that would be my only comment. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.
Are there any other comments from the public that'd like to speak? And I sincerely appreciate the way things have been handled. I think we've kept it very orderly and fair to you people too, so thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chair, we're not,
No,
we'll close the,
closing the public comment.
We'll do that, yeah. Sure. I know we were going to talk about next steps with the EDC, and I think we're going to wait for a compilation of the comments and then some responses and follow-up discussion.
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. One issue, and it directly relates to comments that were made as well as Austin's presentation regarding the service station portion. As you might know, this has been an ongoing issue, starting with a moratorium much earlier this year, with at least one extension and I know the Planning Commission recommended to the council that we do one more extension. And in the meantime, I appreciate the staff. I did put them on the spot, and it was not a pre-planned event. They weren't really happy with me when I did so, but they did come up with an alternate proposal regarding the gas stations and how we would handle them going forward. We heard from the attorney representing one of the potential future applicants who feels impacted by the moratorium and who, as Ms. Simpson said, is in agreement with the proposed amendments. What I'd like to recommend or ask for consideration, I'll make it a motion, is that we separate the service station portion from the continued conversation with the UDC and maybe fast track that and have a recommendation come out from the Planning Commission to the council that they look at rezoning or amending the language in the current zoning code to add these provisions in an effort to fast track that portion and get the activity started, as well as the moratorium on gas stations dropped just as soon as possible, expired as soon as possible on that issue. My motion, I guess, would be first that we not hold the optional public hearing that we could do on the service station issue only, not the rest of the UDC, just the service station. So that would be my first motion, since we always do that first before we consider the main motion.
Do we have an amended proposal before us?
We have what was recommended up here, and what you saw in your packet that had the conditions in it.
Okay.
So making it
So the first motion is not to
our
have...
current zoning.
It would have to be to the current zoning code because the UDC is still under discussion. The expectation is if the council were to enact under the current zoning while they're looking at the UDC, then that language would be inserted into the UDC, but it would become effective as early as September 21st, which is within the time frame of an extended moratorium, but odds are would be in advance of the rest of the UDC being adopted, and so it would not continue to drag out that issue any further than I personally think we need to.
So it would be amending the current code and then re-amending it through the UDC?
No, it would be amending it through the current code and then having that adopted language be included in the UDC that's recommended to the council.
It would be repealed when the UDC gets adopted.
So my first amendment, or my first motion would be not holding a public hearing on that particular topic.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, who did the second?
Yep. Jordan.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions?
And this is to make the recommendation to council?
No, this is to not hold a public hearing.
Right.
Yeah, not hold a
But
public
the issue is to make the recommendation to council.
It would be a rezoning recommendation, yes.
A zoning change.
Zoning change,
Amendment,
excuse me,
yeah.
zoning change.
Text amendment.
Right.
Okay. Do we have a roll call vote on the motion to not hold a public hearing?
Okay. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich?
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved that the Planning Commission would not hold a public hearing on a zoning code amendment proposal.
Okay. Then my main motion, I guess, is that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to council to repeal the section of the current code related to service stations and adopt this particular language as an emergency measure to allow, and the reason for the emergency would be to allow, to enable the moratorium on service stations to expire at the earliest possible time, given that it's been extended at least once and potentially another time.
Refresh my memory on the majority required for council to declare an emergency.
It takes 6 positive votes.
I'll second that. This would amend the current code and allow that to be considered for the gas station. But then it would be rolled into the UDC and adopted as part of the new UDC.
That's having already been.
But we would still have the opportunity to continue our review.
Of the rest of the UDC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. This does not impact the overall UDC, it's just the service station part of it.
I believe I seconded that motion.
Yes, you did.
If I understood it.
And I think Sandy seconded it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions before we vote? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Titterington,
Yes.
Mr. McGarry,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke.
Yes.
Motion is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good. Okay, so the comments we've heard today, they'll be summarized and addressed, and then we can discuss those at the next meeting. They give you enough time to address
Yes, that would be, August 12th. Yeah.
information? Okay.
Yeah.
And now those will be made, be put on the website also, right, for the meetings?
Yeah, we'll make that happen.
Okay, very good.
What?
And-
What is
and-
put on the website, sorry?
The list of, the comments and, yeah, all the information
Okay.
Be a part
that's
of the
compiled today.
packet
Be a part of
that
the
goes out.
staff packet that we'll
Yeah.
post on
Yeah,
the
right,
website.
right.
Backup for the
Yeah.
And
meeting.
your review and your responses will be vetted by Structure Point as well as Mr. Kerber.
That's correct. We will get with both individuals, yes.
Okay. And then we'll just proceed based upon a review of the comments next week, then we'll proceed with whatever time frame it needs, because this won't affect the moratoriums. Okay, good. Good. Any other business we need to attend to?
Mr. Chair, real quick on the next meeting, I have it as August 12th. I will not be here August 12th.
And I will not either.
With 3 members.
Sorry.
Will you be here at all this week, that week?
Yeah, that's Fair Week. I will not.
13th or 14th.
I'm out of town. I mean, we could look at another date, or?
We could look at another date for review.
Well, why don't we, why doesn't the clerk round back and look at some alternate dates?
I could be here the week before.
And
I
that,
don't know that we want to wait another 2 weeks, but if there's another date that works for everybody.
would the
then-
following week,
I'm out from the 9th to the 19th. Sorry.
I'm available the 19th.
The following week might be a problem for me.
Wait, I can be here on the 12th. The 19th, I won't be here.
So you're a week off.
I thought Fair Week was that week. but-
Mr. Emmerich, when did you say you were going?
I'm gone the 12th. I could be here the 13th if we have a majority, I don't know.
I could be here the 13th.
I will not. What date are we looking at now?
The 13th, maybe?
at the usual time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
13th does look good for everyone?
Except for you.
Except for Ed.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, submitting your comments?
I can submit comments, yes.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay, well, we shoot for the 13th after the next work session.
okay. That'll be the meeting, that'll actually be the regular meeting, all the different days.
Staff, make sure that we send
And
that
there could
out
be other, yes.
through social media so that people
Yeah.
don't get confused.
And there'll be the regular agenda
Lauren is
items as
watching
well.
right now?
Instead of the
Lauren, yeah.
12th, we're meeting the 13th.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so any other business would be handled then too?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay. Any other business? Thank you for bringing that up, Jordan. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor? No. Opposed? We are adjourned.